have a right to choose what happens to our bodies. We have a right.
What are you doing?
We have a right to choose what happens to our bodies.
How about the bodies of the babies?
The babies are not classified as a baby until the moment they are born.
Where are they?
You know that. What do you mean, where are they?
Are they human?
They are inside their mother's stomachs.
Are they human?
We were told these people would not be here this year. Women have a right. Women have a right to do what they want. Women have a right to choose.
So she's saying that women have a right to choose, actually, to terminate, to kill babies in the womb. So women have rights, but not the right to kill another human life. That's never been a right.
Women have a right to choose.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of About Abortion. I am so excited to be joined today by my sister in Christ, my friend, my colleague, Karolina. Karolina, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today.
Hi Dave, thanks for having me.
Now Karolina, you were saying this is your very first time ever on a podcast, is that right?
Yeah, it's my first time, so I'm excited, and I can see we're wearing matching shirts as well. We didn't plan for that, so...
Our viewers are not going to believe it was not coordinated. I think you must have got some intel from my wife or something to match me today. But it's, what an honour to have you for your very first podcast. Karolina, tell us a bit about yourself. I see you've actually got a map of the world behind you. Can you point out to us where you're from?
Yes, of course. I'm from here. I'm from Argentina, all the way in the south. So
awesome.
I moved to England about 6 years ago, and I came here and got married. My husband is from Romania, and it's been actually 7 years that I moved to England and 6 years that I've been married. Okay. So I came and the Lord gave me straight away a husband.
Wow, within 1 year? Within 1 year?
Yes. Yes.
That's amazing. So you actually met him here?
Yes,
okay,
we met in England.
Okay, awesome. And would you tell us just a bit about your pro-life story, Karolina? Have you always been pro-life? Tell us a little bit about
that. So for me, I never thought about the pro-life issue. Of course, growing up in Argentina, Argentina has always been a pro-life country up until a few years ago that they legalized abortion. But growing up, I didn't think much about it. And it was not until I moved to England and I got married that after a year of being married, I got pregnant. And we were shocked because, in a way, we wanted to wait a little bit more to become parents. But then slowly, we started to be excited about it. And then, sadly, I had a miscarriage at 8 weeks. And when I went to the hospital, I ended up going to the emergency room. As I was waiting there, I looked around and I saw a poster from BPAS. And I didn't know back then that BPAS was one of the largest abortion services in England, but it got my attention because it was basically saying, if you are considering abortion, call us. And I guess in that moment, I realized the magnitude of that decision of, in a way, women that choose abortion, because here I was, in a way, recovering from a miscarriage, and it's very painful. But then I thought, how about women that do it on purpose, that have an abortion, and then they regretted it? Like, who is helping them? Because in my case, I got a lot of support, family, friends, church, coming by my side and helping me, to go through this hard situation. But then I thought, who is helping women that had abortions? Because probably they will think, well, I chose it, right? That's what, in a way, opened my eyes to the pro-life cause, to what's happening with babies in the womb. Initially, I thought, well, I'm going to support an organization from the US, because I thought there's nothing like that in England. And as I was praying, God put on my heart that as I am in England, I need to be helping babies in England. So it was through Christian Concern that I heard about CBR UK. And I clicked. I was living in Surrey at the time, so I joined the London team with Christian, and then the rest is history. I ended up working for CBR, and it's been an amazing journey. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Karolina. You're a missionary to our country
Yes.
on behalf of the babies, which is wonderful. We certainly need that. And it's interesting. I remember when we were going in for our younger daughter's birth, her delivery, and I remember likewise seeing posters up in the hospital. And just being struck at that crazy contradiction you get within that one space. So I know they perform abortions in that hospital, and yet they've also got posters up saying stuff like smoking harms your unborn baby. And it's like, well, what is it? Are we trying to look after these babies, or are we trying to kill them? And it's just crazy, isn't it? That even in that same space, even some of the same personnel involved in both. It's this is the state.
Yeah.
We're in, but yeah, God bless you, and God bless Christian Concern, great friends of ours. We love what they do, and we're so grateful for how they just really uphold us in the work, and we hope we can bless them too. Now, Karolina, today we're going to be talking a bit about Keswick. As our listeners may be aware, we've done displays in Keswick before, so 2023 we did 2 displays. We did a display in week 1 and in week 3. We decided not to do week 2 because we were aware there was a lecture about abortion going on that week, so we didn't want to, detract from that or be understood to be seeking to divide that audience or make a point or anything. So we did weeks 1 and 3 in 2023. Last year we did some displays, and those for some reason ended up causing quite a stir. There was opposition from the town and also from the convention, and the local media reported on that, and a lot of people have been talking about that. And we're back again. And just before, Karolina, we hear from you, because you were actually there, weren't you? You were on the streets?
Yes.
Yeah.
This was on Friday last week.
Yeah.
And it was my first time in Keswick as well.
Okay.
So
Nice.
It was good. And we basically arrived at noon, and we set up the display around 12:30. We decided to put the banners back to back, and we were in the middle of the market. And then our team leader, it was actually the team that went, and I kind of joined. It was mainly the team from Scotland. Mm-hmm. So I joined them, and Callum, the team leader, decided to play the heartbeat sound as well, which I seen displays with it, but I never been physically with a display with a heartbeat sound, and it was so powerful. So powerful. So we set up the heartbeat sound, the banners and so on. But shortly after, there were a few owners from the shops around that came, and they were very upset because of the sound. That was the first thing they said. Not necessarily the banner, although they were also upset about that, but it was the sound that really got them, and they were like, you need to take that down because it's triggering a lady. One lady said it's triggering a lady in my shop that had a miscarriage. And it's very interesting that they will come and say that to me, right? Because it was because of an experience that I had with that got me into this work. So I was able to speak with her, but they were not happy for us being there, basically. Yeah.
Great. I'm just going to pause you there because I think just want to clarify a couple of things for our listeners in case they're not familiar already with our public education work. So what we did on this occasion, we had 2 banners up, didn't we? So last year we had just the one, living image. This year we had that same living image, but then on the other side we had our sort of late term living images, didn't we? Because, of course, MPs recently voted in Parliament, massive majority, to legalise abortion up to birth. So we've got a new banner which shows, correct me if I'm wrong, Karolina, I think we've got a pregnant lady. We've got ultrasound kind of pictures of babies at late stage. And then I think we've got a picture of a newborn baby, a premature newborn baby. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so these are the pictures we had at this time. So no abortion imagery on this occasion. And then we've been playing the sound of a prenatal heartbeat out of a kind of heavy-duty Bluetooth speaker. And that beautiful sound really just fills the space, doesn't it? With this soft but really compelling heartbeat sound. And you were saying, am I right, Karolina, it was actually the sound of the heartbeat filling that space that for some people was actually offensive. Is that right?
Yeah, it was very offensive. And the police came as well. And in a sense, the police brought a sense of peace, because a peace for us as team members, because we knew if they are around, we will be protected. And also probably for those who were angry, because they could go to the police and express in a way their frustration and so on. And then speaking with the police, we agree with them that we will stay there. We're not going to move, because we have a right to be there, like we have freedom of speech. But we did agree with them that we are going to stop the heartbeat sound. And even stopping the heartbeat sound, it was, I don't know, such a moment of like a lot of emotion, because that's what happens in an abortion. Like you stop the heartbeat, you know? So the people who were angry at us and at the sound, by us stopping it, it was kind of saying, this is what happens in reality as well.
Wow.
As soon as you stop a heartbeat, you know, that's because in a way you have been successful in killing a baby in the womb. So we kept being there without a heartbeat, but with the image of the living baby in both sides.
Wow.
Wow.
That's very powerful, isn't it? That's like almost a dramatization of that pro-abortion agenda. And I think we see this so often with our displays, don't we? When people come out, I mean, whilst you were out, although I can be obviously something of an armchair activist, as it happens, I was also out that day in Stowmarket, and we had a cover-up. So people came out with these big sort of boards to cover up our pictures. And what happens there is when people are literally covering up the reality of abortion and the humanity of the unborn child, they're just kind of playing out in public what they and that whole culture are doing all the time, which is denying the humanity of the unborn child and seeking to hide the horror of abortion. We just don't want people to know about it. And then there were you guys in Keswick, and they're literally stopping a heartbeat. I mean, it's crazy. It's just,
absolutely.
Wow, it's
and maybe this is also a representation of what the woman who is doubting, should I continue with this pregnancy or not, maybe what she goes through, because I think they have so many voices around her saying, oh yeah, you should go for the abortion, what's going to happen to your university studies, what's going to happen to your boyfriend, like he doesn't want it. There are so many voices around her wanting her to stop the heartbeat. And all along, when she's hearing all these things, the heartbeat is beating, it's continuing, the life is continuing to develop, to grow, until she chooses that choice that has no way back. Like once you have the abortion, that's it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and every abortion stops a beating heart. This is it's so important to, as we say, visually kind of give a window into the womb to see what is hidden in that secret place and what the abortion industry wants to hide, but also hear. We need to hear, as it were, that the sound of the life of the voiceless. And we're called to be a voice for the voiceless. And of course, being a voice for the voiceless means, in a sense, you take someone who is for some reason inaudible, they are overlooked, they don't have the ability to represent themselves, and you represent them, and actually playing that heartbeat in a public space is a way of being a voice for the voiceless, is a way of giving them a voice and a presence. And wow, we think about people who want to silence that heartbeat in the streets, but also stop those hearts in real life. That's a grave sin, isn't it, against the living God who made these precious babies in his image. And it is not a small thing to stop that heartbeat. It was interesting as well. I noticed, because Callum, who led the display, one of our fantastic leaders from Scotland, he sent me a few details about the display, and he mentioned quite a few people mentioned that issue of it's upsetting for those who've had miscarriages, and we had a lot as well in Stowmarket. We were showing the abortion imagery in Stowmarket, but interestingly, you guys weren't even showing abortion imagery, but you still got that complaint. This is triggering.
Upsetting. And a question to ask is, why so upsetting? Yes, I understand. I mean, with a miscarriage, it's very upsetting and it's very sad, and you do get a lot of support, but then why is it upsetting? And the answer is because it's a human being, that you're talking about, whether it's been a miscarriage, an abortion, a stillbirth, it's upsetting. I give you that, it's true. But covering it, how is it helping the post-abortive women who are wanting to grieve, wanting to come to terms with what they chose? And
I think we do get this charge from time to time. This is triggering, this is upsetting. And one of the things we need to say, well, firstly, we say, look, as you say, why is it upsetting? Because it's a human life. If it's a human life, we must be doing all we can to save these babies. And we know that many women are having abortions in part because they're not told the truth about the baby in the womb and what abortion will do to that baby. And so our banners show that truth. And we know we've had people, haven't we? I think you've had this on displays, Karolina. Someone comes back and says, "Here's my baby." I think you've had that in real life, haven't you, on a display?
Yeah. We had that happen in Birmingham. We had a display. I think this was like 2 years ago, and then a few months after, a gentleman came and said, "Oh, I want to show you a picture of my baby." And he shared that basically him and his wife were considering an abortion, and one time they were in Birmingham city center just shopping and so on, and they saw our display, and that they were so impacted that they said, we can't go through with this abortion. And then months later, they came and showed us the picture of the baby. So it's amazing.
That's really amazing. Did they even talk to you at that time when they saw the images?
No, wow. They didn't tell us anything. No.
I think that's fascinating, because I think we can, all of us, be so short-sighted in how we evaluate things. And when people think about our displays, sometimes all they'll see is the opposition, the kind of the tension, whatever. And we'll go on in a minute and discuss actually some of the, as it were, more positive things that we also experienced in the moment. But what people often don't see, and what we often don't see, are the long-term effects. People who don't even talk to us, they just see it, they go away, and then a life is saved. And so I think we've really got to have a broader and longer view on these things. The initial visible reactions of people are perhaps the least important, actually, part of what we do. And so that's cool. So yes, the first thing is these pictures do save lives. We know that. And in fact, we probably only know a fraction of that. Who knows how many lives are saved without us actually hearing about it. It sounds like if that guy hadn't happened to walk past you another time, second time, months later, we would never have heard of that. So how many times is that happening? So there's that. But then I think the second thing is we need to be clear. We're not the ones creating the trauma, the tragedy, the upset. People are reminded of the thing that caused the trauma or the upset. And if we go down the route of trying to censor everything that might remind people of something upsetting, I mean, you're going to end up banning every song on the radio. You're going to ban all sorts of scenes in films, and you have to get novels off the shelves that might remind people of things that happen in their life or things that never happen in their life. I mean, it would become a very destructive race to the bottom, because anything could actually be upsetting. A picture of a newborn baby can be upsetting. You know, if you lost a son in childhood, any picture of a boy at that age would be upsetting. So, you know, I think we have to see through these objections, which may or may not be sincerely meant, and there may well be upset there, but we have to see through this, the bigger picture. We're saving lives here, and actually, if someone needs help with a previous trauma, the answer is not to censor the things that might remind them of that. You know, be that fireworks for an army veteran or something else, but to actually give those people the help they need to process that past. Trauma. Let's hear a little bit more then, Karolina, about how things were received, and then I want to kind of broaden out the conversation to the bigger picture. So, what are the reactions? So we've heard people found the heartbeat offensive. Some people are saying, well, it's upsetting because it had a miscarriage. What other sort of responses were you getting on the day?
So on the day, we have there was a young lady that was speaking to one of our educators, and she kind of was like, "Oh, but you're a man, and you shouldn't be here. Like, you shouldn't be talking about women's issue." And he kind of said, "Well, you can go and speak to Karolina, who is a female." And she came and spoke to me. She was very nervous and like so upset that we are there, and just kind of saying, "I am a local from Keswick, and you shouldn't be here. None of us want you here. Not the Christians in the convention, not us who are locals." And it was funny because I asked her, like, "So are you speaking on behalf of everyone in Keswick?" You know, and she was like, well, but you shouldn't be here, you know, because right after she left, because how that conversation ended was that she acknowledged that babies in the womb are humans, you know. So after you acknowledge that, you really need to find ways to defend the killing of another human being. So she left, and that after that, another lady who was a local from Keswick came and told me how thankful she was that we're here. So which one is it, right? So we had mixed answers from locals, you know. There was another lady as well that was very angry. You probably saw on social media a lady with her two dogs that started circling us and just screaming that, "Why are you here? The council told us that you are not coming this year, and yet again you are here." And I did a little video with her. I encourage you to go on social media and find it, where basically I didn't ask many questions. I let her speak, and in her speech she gave herself away. I mean, her whole ideology crumbled because she said babies are not babies until they are born, and so what are they, you know? And then when I asked, like, where are they, and she was like, "What do you mean? They are in the mother's stomachs." So like, she even acknowledged that there is a mother, there is a baby, yet she says women should have the right to terminate that life, to kill that life. So there was a mix responses throughout the day, in a way, opposition and then encouragement, opposition, encouragement, and so on and so forth. So, there are so many stories I can tell you. There was one lady from the Keswick convention that came, and she was so thankful that we were there, and she told me that you know, she wishes that more people would see these things. And she acknowledged as well, like, the difference in behavior and in reactions, because she said, "You guys are here as pro-lifers defending human life, being peaceful, and then you have the opposition who was very aggressive, very violent, and she told me if the police were not here, this will escalate. And I agree with her, because sometimes people will get so angry, and that shows you even both ideologies. One is coming from a peaceful mentality of hope, of everyone deserves a chance in life, especially the unborn who are innocent. And then you have the other, side who is violent and who will be like, stop the heartbeat sound, stop the images, which is an image you can find in any science book. So yeah, it's been a mixed response from the public. And it was good to see that. It was good to see that there were people who were supportive of us, not just Christians, but actually local people as well. So that lady was not speaking from in representation of everyone. Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of About Abortion. I hope you're appreciating these podcasts. And if you are, can I ask for your help in getting these vital messages to more people? We're delighted that we can get these to people free of charge. But that's not free for us to produce. It costs something like £300 to £400 a month to get these podcasts produced. And I wonder if you could help us, partner with us financially. Many of us will have an Amazon Prime subscription or some kind of streaming platform to the tune of £6, £7, £8 a month. I wonder if you consider, as it were, taking out a subscription with us. If you could donate, say £8 a month, if we had about 40 people donating around £8 a month, just £8 a month, that would help us to continue to do these podcasts free of charge for anyone who wants to listen in. And this is the only podcast specifically about abortion in the UK. It's the greatest injustice, not only of our time, but in all history. Would you help us to bring these life-saving messages to more people? And don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Do send this in particular to your church leaders and anyone else you think might be interested. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll let you get back to the episode now.
Thanks for sharing that. And that is, I think, par for the course, isn't it? With any gospel proclamation, with any prophetic ministry, social reform, it's just really normal that some people are deeply offended. Those who resist the light, who don't want the truth, they want the status quo, even though it's unjust. Some are repelled by the message, and others are attracted. They're drawn. We see that in Scripture. The aroma of Christ, the aroma of life to some, the stench of death to others. We see that right throughout history. We think about apartheid and civil rights and so on. Some people absolutely hate it when someone is questioning the status quo, and others are galvanized. And I think we really, as Christians, it's so important that we just make peace with that dynamic. We're not going to persuade everyone. We don't need to persuade everyone. In fact, it's not our job to persuade everyone. Our job is to be that voice, to expose the deeds of darkness. And some will hate it and some will love it. But I think the thing is, and the reason really I wanted to do this conversation is it is so easy through the lens, the distorted, kind of tainted lens of the media. It is so easy to get only one side of that story, and all you'll see is the town council don't want you there, the convention don't want you there, none of us want you there, and all you'll see is the negative. Whereas actually, when you hear reports from people on the ground, yes, there's the negative, but there are also positives. And indeed, Callum told me that lots of positive engagement with those going to the convention, lots of people horrified by what the MPs have voted for, and certainly agreeing with us that it's so important that we take action. We can't just sit back and do nothing. Just before I go on, Karolina, to talk about the bigger picture here, were there any other responses you want to share, particularly from those going to the convention? How did they kind of respond to our presence?
Yeah, many Christians from the convention were supportive of what we were doing. especially when they were seeing that we are exposing what our government wants to do. They were supportive of us being there and being a voice for the voiceless. We spoke to women who were also post-abortive, and they realized that it was good for us to be there, because this is an issue that oftentimes is hidden in churches, in society in general. There is a lot of shame, attached to it. So we got a lot of positive responses. I'm from the opposition. I realized that sometimes, no matter what you say, they don't really want to have like a respectful conversation with you, or to understand in the kind of discovering what is the truth, because in our team, unfortunately, we were not very balanced with the sexes. It was like four men and myself. I was the only female. So we got a lot of the people saying, "Oh, but you're a man, you shouldn't be here." And then when they would say, "Well, you can speak to my colleague," then they would speak to me, and then they would just say, "Shame on you because you are a woman." So no matter what you give them, they won't be satisfied. And sometimes I think of, like, if that is the reasoning you have behind it, only you being a woman can you speak about abortion, then I think in the time of the slavery, was it only the slave owners who could speak about slaves? It was everyone, because everyone could see how wrong slavery is, and you need to protect the vulnerable. So it's the same here. No matter if you're a male or female, young or old, we need to protect the innocent.
Yeah, it is just evasion, isn't it? And we find that all the time, and certainly in Stowmarket on the same day, we found that fierce objections, and then you address those, and then they just come up with another one. And it's almost as if they're not really, listening. It's just ammunition. And the real objection is deeper down, isn't it? The real objection is they just don't want the truth going out, and it convicts. Often it's conviction. It's a sense of, wow, I'm actually on the wrong side of history here. My position is indefensible. And just it being exposed visually or even audibly is enough to really unsettle people who want to justify the status quo. So, I think obviously we want to take people's concerns and questions seriously, but if we find that it's never enough, we answer every question and they still come back with another, or when they end up going into sort of pedantry. So, for example, I shared a statistic which is so easily available online, and she said, "Oh, where's that from?" I said, "It's the national government statistics. You can look it up right now." And she kept coming back to that, saying, I'm not sure about that statistic. And it's like, well, you could just look it up on your phone right now. It's right there. But it's just finding excuses to evade the basic truth. This is a baby, and killing babies is not okay. So that's helpful. So I just want to, again, so helpful to hear. Thank you, Karolina, about the what went down on the day. And we're thankful the police were good. They supported us, because Callum did say actually someone was getting pretty threatening, and I think this person actually said, if the police weren't here, I would ... So we're thankful to the Keswick police. Thank you for your for looking after our team and defending their expressive rights. And as we can see, many people were responsive even in the moment, let alone those who might have walked past, not engaged, and then months later, a baby is saved, and we never get to hear about it. But I also wanted to clarify in this podcast why we were there. Now, hopefully that's already obvious, in the sense that the reason we're there is the reason we go anywhere. It's to educate and to call people to meaningful action on behalf of the unborn child. But I just wanted to be really clear and explicit that our aims in being there were to reach especially the Christians going to the convention, because if we can't reach the church, how do we reach the nation? And I think what we found last year and the year before, we did some surveying. We asked about 180 convention goers, Christians, on their views on abortion and how it's being addressed in their church. And we found about 50% of them said they had not heard abortion mentioned, even just mentioned once, at all in the last 5 years in their church. Only a tiny minority said they had received what they would call thorough, head-on teaching. So even at what would see itself as quite a conservative, biblical Christian convention, people who've spent a week or more of their holidays to be there in a Bible teaching convention, their own churches are not teaching on abortion. In fact, half of them aren't even mentioning it once in 5 years. So that's something that we see as a critical problem in the church in the UK. We're still not talking about abortion. And yet, I want to balance that with the encouragement, and I mentioned this last week on the podcast, we are seeing more and more pastors starting to speak out. I think especially since this vote in Parliament, I think that has shaken people, and it is waking people up. And indeed, we've just released, together with a pastor, in fact, the pastor of the church I grew up in, John Benton's just published a booklet for us, Teaching on Abortion, written by me and Tim Lewis, and that's out there now, and pastors can get a hold of that so that those who are looking to teach on abortion can have that input and help. But that's a critical need in the church. We need to be talking about abortion. And then we also need to be responding in action. And interestingly, although these Christians said they were from churches that largely weren't talking about abortion, still about 80% of those Christians said we do need to be responding in action to this crisis. So I think what we're seeing here, both at a church level, but I think we can also see it at the convention level, is the average Christian is actually really responsive to what we're doing, responsive to the message, wants the truth, wants the church to be teaching about this, wants to respond in action. But it's often the leadership, for whatever reason, that are resistant. And I think it's important we don't assume that the leadership are actually representing the people. Because in this case, the sheep are often hungry, but the shepherds aren't feeding them. So that's why we were there. We were there to educate Christians. We're not there to provoke, to have that debate about what the convention thinks about it all. That'll be for them to say, and if people want to know about that, they can go straight to them. But we're there to educate, and we want people to respond in action. Karolina, I wanted to close really by asking you what your hope and prayer is. What would you like to see happen as a result of particularly our presence in Keswick? We are going back again this week at some point, God willing. So listeners, please pray for that. We are aware that the town council and some in the town are going to be trying to find ways to, shall we say, occupy our space and discourage us from coming back. So we're hoping we can find the right spot. So do watch this space. But in a moment, I want to hear, what's your prayer, what's your hope for what comes out of these. But just prior to that, we mentioned the heartbeat, and I'm aware that there is a petition, a heartbeat bill petition, which is, I don't think it's fully live yet. I think it's going through its checks, but it's a parliamentary petition. And we're encouraging people to get behind that. Karolina, could you just share a little bit about what is that? What does that mean? What is a heartbeat bill? And why is that a good idea and something that we need to get behind here in the UK?
Well, a heartbeat bill basically is at the stage where we just want to get people interested in it, signatures, and so on, because there is a big appetite for reform in this area. A heartbeat is just such a basic sign of life in everyone. If there is an accident or a tragedy happens, the first thing you check is if the person still has a heartbeat. So basically what this bill wants to introduce is that as soon as a heartbeat is detected in a baby, then they are protected. That's as basic as we can get, and that's what we want to. And we find out that every time we speak with somebody, you know, and we ask, "Will you stop the life of a baby that has a heartbeat?" That's just such a shocking question, because that reveals like is a basic sign of life, a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Will you stop a beating heart? Will you do that? When will you do it? At what stage? So yeah, that's basically the background of this heartbeat bill that we are trying to share with the public.
Brilliant. And yeah, just to encourage folks, we're finding, as we've surveyed a lot of people now actually about the whole concept, we have found that about 60% of people have shown support for the heartbeat bill, which is incredible because MPs have just voted with a huge majority for abortion up till birth. But what we know from our experience on the streets, and there are surveys as well and polls out there also, the vast majority of the public are nowhere near that position. Most would like to see a reduction in abortions, and in fact, as I say, about 60% would support a heartbeat bill, which actually would amount to a de facto ban on abortion, pretty much, because from the moment you find out you're pregnant, almost certainly there's already a heartbeat. So this would be a huge step forward for the pro-life movement. It's not the end goal. This would be an incremental step, but it'd be a huge incremental step. It has the genius of simultaneously educating people about life in the womb and when the heartbeat begins. So it's a really powerful thing. And it's high time that the pro-life movement in this country got on the front foot again. We've been so reactive, and that's fine. We do need to react. It's right that we react. But it's about time we got out of the trenches and actually went on the offensive, and we chose that battleground where we want to be fighting. And I'm really excited for this. So yes, the parliamentary bill has been submitted by someone, and I think it's just going through its checks. But please do, listeners, get involved in this. I think you can visit the page already, and it might already have come back, but let's really sign this, and I'll put a link below and share it because we need to start pushing things in the opposite direction to where they've been going. Okay, Karolina, we ought to wrap up in a moment. So what do you want to share with us? What will be your hope, your prayer? As I say, we're going back this week, God willing, to Keswick. What would you like to see happening out of displays like Keswick in the church and nation at large?
Yeah, my prayer, my hope is found in Galatians 6:9, that says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." And yeah, we just need to keep going, keep doing what we're doing, keep sharing the truth in love. And what I would love to see happen is that Christians will become more united. Because as Christians, we have experienced the joy of salvation, the hope that is found in Jesus, knowing that He forgives all our sins. And part of that process was us acknowledging our sins, repenting. So us coming with images, with heartbeat sound and so on, it is in a way a call to repentance. And I found oftentimes in this play it's so easy to share the gospel because it's so easy to go from, God, life is precious, to your life is precious. You specifically have a purpose, and God has amazing plans for us. And by the way, do you know that Jesus gave His life for you so you can have a relationship with God? So this is my hope, that as Christians, we won't grow weary of doing good. At the right time, we will reap a harvest, like that example that I shared about Birmingham, that baby that was saved. And that we as Christians will be more united, because we should be going in the same direction and showing the light of Jesus Christ.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Karolina. I love that prayer for unity. And, it's interesting because some people I know will see the work we do as quite out there, might accuse it of being divisive and so on. The reality is the truth, as we've said, it repels some but draws others. The truth does unite. We unite in the truth, in God's word. We come around Jesus' words, and that's what unites us. And that's Jesus said, we mustn't be ashamed of him or his words. That's the basis of our unity. So while some will be driven away by that, others drawn together. And I have to say, there is, by the grace of God, there is such a unity that we do experience, isn't there? In our team, whether that's the staff or our educators on the streets, people from a range of churchmanships, backgrounds, nationalities all around the country, and may have very different ecclesiology and so on, and yet uniting around this righteous cause is something that brings such a unity and such a joy, and we really get to experience something of participating in a tiny way in the sufferings of Christ as we stand for righteousness. And it's just a real joy, and it's a privilege to be part of this CBR UK family. Karolina, thank you so much for sharing with us, and thanks for what you did last week. And we will pray on for the display this week. And thanks everyone for listening in. Keep tuned in, and we'll update you with anything else going on in Keswick and elsewhere. Do share this as ever, especially with your pastor. And do take a look at the Brephos website, Brephos.org. We've got our Bible study there, and we're just releasing this Teaching on Abortion booklet as well. Lots of resources to help you and your church. And of course, we've got our team of speakers as well, from Cornwall or out to Scotland. A team of speakers ready to come and serve your church. Do be in touch if we can help you in that way. Thanks for listening, and God bless you.
Hello, and thank you if you have listened this far. Just a little announcement with regards to the plan over the summer. We're not planning to release full-length podcasts over the summer, but instead our plan is to release short snippets, highlights, maybe 10, 15-minute segments from our archive. And you may benefit from listening to these again, but the real purpose is to fillet these podcasts in a way that is especially digestible to church leaders, to pastors, that being one of our key target audiences. We want to help pastors especially to teach on abortion and to engage their congregations on this issue. So we're going to be just posting at the kind of regular time, which is now Tuesdays usually, these short segments. And if that's good for you, brilliant. But if you feel you've heard it already, please do take the opportunity to share that, especially with your church leaders or any other church leaders that you know. We're hoping these can really help resource the church in this task. Thank you, and we'll be back with full length again in September, God willing.